Hi everyone, and welcome to Squirrel Pie Productions. My name is Tommi. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as DynamiteTrujillo. Welcome to episode 78 of my podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. If you are a new viewer, welcome. And if you're a new viewer, a big welcome back. Today's a really beautiful and cloudy, foggy Wednesday here on the Northern California coast where I'm coming to you from. We have a Ravelry group for this podcast that you should totally go check out and join if you have not yet. It's where you'll find things like giveaways and knit-alongs and make-alongs and stuff like that. You can find show notes there, but I have also started adding show notes to the information box below. Is that what it's called? That stuff down there in YouTube. I like when other YouTube videos have links and show notes right here on the YouTube page rather than having to click over to another show notes page. So it finally hit me that I should probably start doing that too if I like it when other people do it. But you can still find show notes in the Ravelry group. They're in a different format because I have to do them in a different format for YouTube. So instead of doing two whole separate sets of show notes, I'm just copying and pasting these ones and putting them in Ravelry. So they're gonna look different in Ravelry, but I really like that they're down here now, so I'm just gonna do this a whole bunch. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope it makes it easier for you. Let me know what you think. So you can find our show notes down here in the doobly-doo, if you will. And yes, there has been a make-along going on in the Ravelry group though, and it is now over. It was the spring sweater cowl, and that is where for the whole season of spring in 2019 we were making sweaters with each other. And I have a couple of winners that I want to announce. One is from the Ravelry FO thread and the other one is from Instagram. So without further ado, the first winner is Tamara, and Tamara is tamarinde, I think, on Ravelry. She won from the Ravelry FO thread. Thank you so much for participating, Tamara. She made more than one sweater, so that was really exciting. And you have won your choice of one single skein from the Moonstone Dye Works hand-dyed yarn shop, which there's a link to in the show notes below. So go over to the shop, Tamara, pick which skein you would like, and send me a message with your address and your full name and which skein you would like, and I will send it off to you as your prize. And the other winner is from Instagram, and the Instagram winner is Anne, who is E-N-R-N. I think that's how you pronounce your handle, Anne. And same goes for you. Go over to the Moonstone Dye Works shop, pick out which skein you would like, and let me know with your address. You can message me on Instagram or Ravelry or through the email in the website. Whatever your preference is, it would be totally fine. And so thank you so much to everybody who participated in the sweater knit-along. It was amazing to see so many other people making sweaters, because that is all I have been making lately, is a whole bunch of sweaters, as you will see soon. And congratulations to our two winners. Okay, moving on from the make-along, I wanted to quickly let you know that, as I'm sure you have heard, there is a new policy on Ravelry. It's a continuation of their hate speech policy, which keeps hate speech off of Ravelry, which is a place where hate speech does not belong. And so as an extension to this policy, they've added something that bans support of the Trump administration on the platform of Ravelry. This, I think, happened last week, and there has been a lot of reaction among the knitting community, lots and lots of support for Ravelry, and I think that's great. I think it's a really good step in the right direction, and something that Ravelry came out with after the fact, I think a few days ago maybe, is another post kind of thanking people and expanding on their new policy. And I liked what they put in that post, so I kind of wanted to just kind of reiterate it here because it's kind of how I feel too. And it was pretty much them thanking everybody for their support, but asking everybody, rather than support, like putting the praise onto Ravelry itself, which is an organization. It's run by a small group of people, but they are an organization, and it is their obligation to keep their members and their customers safe and welcomed in their community. So they ask that rather than praise them, you support Ravelry by supporting Ravelry designers and advertisers and makers in their community, particularly members of marginalized communities like BIPOC, LGBTQ+, disabled members of their community. And there are lots of people that we can support, and especially people who have pushed Ravelry to come out with this new policy and to actively take a role in the safety of their members in their community. So I think that's really great. They also ask that if you do particularly want to make a donation, you make a donation to an organization called, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. I've heard people say it, but I don't know if I can say it right. I think it's Races, Texas. It's an organization that I will link to in the show notes too. So they ask if you do want to make a donation, rather than making it to Ravelry, make it to either this organization, which they suggest, or another local organization to you, which might support marginalized members of your community. So that's how I feel about it. I think it's a step in the right direction, but I do think there's a lot more work to do. I think Ravelry is a small part of the global community that is also in need of these sorts of issues being addressed. So, yay! Okay, now let's move on to some knitting. I have a finished object. It is the Ranunculus, and the Ranunculus is a sweater pattern by Midori Hirosi, and she goes by Knit Cafe Midori on Instagram and Ravelry, and I love it so much. It is done. I knit it out of Julie Aslin yarn, their Nurtured Fine base, which is a newer base. It's a single ply 100%, I believe non-superwash wool. I don't remember what the wool content is, but it's really nice. It's really nice and woolly. And it's in the Tisane colorway, which is this really nice maroon color. I love it. This yarn comes in a cone. It's a light fingering weight, but it's pretty much a lace weight yarn. And it comes in pretty much a lace weight put up. It's like 100 grams and like somewhere between 700 and 800 yards or something like that. I could be making all this up. I don't know, but there's information in the Ravelry project page if you would like to check that out. I will probably try to link that in the show notes straight to my project page for this project. Bam. This is how much yarn I had left over. Love it. I love it when this happens. It makes me so happy when I use up all the yarn. And it comes in a cone, which is cool, but I didn't work from the cone. I caked it from the cone into a cake because I'm a creature of habit and, you know, I wanted to work from a cake. So this is what it looks like. You guys, check it. It's crop top. So, yeah, I knit a crop top. It's really short, and I did these like almost full-length sleeves, and it's got this lace yoke here, and that's pretty much the full tour. Ta-da! So, okay, let's talk about it. So I definitely made some changes, but the thing about this pattern is it's pretty adaptable. Like, there's no different sizes. It's just like, these are the stitch counts that you can use if you want to. Go for it. So, the pattern is written for the one size, but there is an additional download that comes with the pattern for additional larger sizes. And it calls for, I can't remember, I think it calls for a fingering or a lace weight yarn on really big needles. So the needle size called for is like an 11, and I went down to a 9. Is that right? Yes. Okay, so I might be making stuff up about the pattern, but I definitely used a size 9. I went down a needle size or 2 because I looked at the gauge called for in the pattern. I looked at the finished measurement of the garment for the size it was written for in the pattern, and I decided I would like it if the gauge was tightened up a little bit, if the whole garment was made a little bit smaller, and wouldn't have so much positive ease on me. And I can't remember the numbers, but this is what it looks like. So I'm really happy I went with the needle size that I went with. There is still a lot of positive ease, which is a little, you kind of can't really tell since it's so short. So there's not a lot for the positive ease not a lot of places for the positive ease to go. Other than just like here. So, but you can tell there is quite a lot of positive ease, and I really like how that lies on this. And the shoulders fit really great. There's an option of 2 different necklines that you can do. One is a really open neckline where she calls for a specific cast on. Another is a crew neck where she calls for another specific cast on. That one is for a what is it called? What's my deal? How come I can't remember this? It's that cast on that all the like people use when they want their stuff to look really polished and professional. Brooklyn Tweed calls for it all the time. I used it a few times and I was like, I'm always going to use this cast on or bind off, and then I never did. Tubular. So the crew neck calls for a tubular cast on. I did what I thought was going to be an intermediate because I didn't want the real like off the shoulder kind of gaping neckline that I feel like is in some of the pattern pictures, but I also didn't want a crew neck. I'm not that into crew necks. So I just did a German twisted cast on with the number of cast on stitches called for, and I feel like it got me like an in-between kind of thing. It's like, you know, it's still pretty high, but it's, you know, I got a lot of room over here, so I like it. I think it turned out good. The yoke fits really amazingly well, which I'm happy about because you kind of don't know when you just get one stitch count and like you're going off the rails with a different needle size, but super happy with how that turned out. The pattern does call for short row shaping in the back under the neckline, but also in the front, and I kind of wish I would have omitted the front short row shaping. So what short row shaping does in the yoke of a sweater is it adds extra fabric, which then kind of separates the top and the bottom with that extra fabric without adding extra fabric anywhere else. So it essentially raises the neckline or lowers the hemline, depending on where it is. And the back, it raised the neckline like, I don't know, 1/4 inch, 3/4 of an inch or something like that, which is great. I love it. But it also called for some on the front. It called for less, maybe like, I don't know, that much. And I was, at the time, I thought to myself, that's kind of weird that they're calling for short row shaping in the front. But I did it. And I kind of wish I wouldn't, because it does, I feel like it goes up a little high, and I feel like it would have maybe made a difference if I had left it out. But that's okay. It's fine. It's not that much. There are two options for sleeves in this pattern. One is a short sleeve where you pretty much just cut it off right here, right when you separate for the sleeves from the yoke. Or you can do a long sleeve with like some kind of diagonal thing that I didn't quite understand because I didn't look into that much. And that long sleeve does not call for any sleeve shaping in terms of decreases. It's just straight down until you do whatever thing is at the end. I didn't do either of those. I decided I wanted to make the sleeves as long as possible, and I did want sleeve decreases to kind of make for like kind of a fitted sleeve pretty much. So I think I did sleeve decreases. I picked up stitches like you were supposed to for the sleeve, and then I started doing sleeve decreases I think about every 10 rounds, which is I think kind of standard-ish. It worked out really well. The sleeves fit really great. And what I did is I knit the body to just a teensy bit shorter than what the pattern called for. The length of the thing is almost exactly what it calls for in the pattern, but I think I left off maybe 1/4 of an inch or something. And sorry, I kicked the camera. I'm moving around a lot. Okay, so I took the yarn that I had left over after doing the body, and I split that cake into 2 smaller cakes of equal amounts of grams, which is how I measured it. And I just knit each sleeve until I ran out of yarn. Well, I knit the first sleeve until I ran out of yarn, and then I matched the second sleeve to the first sleeve, and I pretty much used all of my yarn. I think I probably would have gone like full length sleeves if I had enough yarn, but I'm super happy with the length of the sleeves, with the length of the sweater. This is kind of my first time really having a cropped sweater, and I love it. I've been wearing it over, oh, actually, I should tell you, I'm wearing it over my Stasia dress, which is a So Liberated pattern. It's a skater jersey dress, and I think it looks really good over these kinds of dresses. I really, really like it. So I'm kind of obsessed with that style right now. I definitely want to make more of these sweaters. Something I am really happy with, and I've been trying to pay attention to as I do things like make cropped sweaters, is I really want the arm, the sleeve length, and the body length to be different. Something I've thought about is that I don't necessarily ever want my sleeve length to be the same as a cropped sweater length. I feel like that would just kind of cut my body in a weird way in terms of like, I don't know what you call it, fashion-y talk. I don't know. But so I really like this, that the sleeves are a lot longer than the body. I think that looks really pretty good. And yeah, I'm really happy with this sweater. It's a lace yoke, which was really, really fun to do. So, and the fact that it's a really open gauge means that the lace is really subtle. Also, I used a single ply yarn, which, you know, technically isn't the best for lace work, but I don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff. I like how it looks. It's subtle. I think it's really cool, and I'm super, super happy with this sweater. I've been wearing it a lot, and I really like it. Is that it? I think that's all I have to say about it. It's cool, right? I like it so much. So have you made cropped sweaters? Because I'm super into this right now. If you have, tell me about it in the comments below. Let me know what patterns you've used. Have you just taken other regular sweaters and made them like a whole lot shorter? That's a good idea. I'd love to hear about your cropped sweater experience. I'd love to hear about how you style them too with your clothes. Let me know. Because I need some ideas. I want to make like a million more. Okay, that is my FO, and I think it's wonderful. And it was also, okay, I know I keep saying like I'm done talking about it now, and then I just keep talking about it. But something else that I really liked about this sweater is the knitting really happened quickly. Like this thing grew really fast because of the loose gauge. These sleeves like took like no time, like they took like 20 minutes to knit. Like they were just like done really fast. So that was cool. That's it. Okay. Now I'm done. Let's move on to works in progress. So my first work in progress for today is my Soldotna Crop, and that is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter. Yes, that is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter. It is living in my Fat Squirrel project bag because Amy Beth, who is the Fat Squirrel, is the best. And you probably already watched her podcast because it's wonderful, but if you don't, you definitely should, and there will be a link to it down in the description box below. Because I'm cool. Okay, so this is my Soldotna Crop. It is really close to being done. I'm so excited. The yarn that I'm using for this is Moonstone Dye Works, which is my hand-dyed yarn company. Link in the description box below. And, sorry. So I'm using my Soldotna kit, which is available in the shop if you're interested in purchasing one. Here is my tag. And here's the yarn. So my first color, oh man, oh, I dropped yarn on the floor. Oh, I got it. That wasn't that big of a deal. But now I am all tangled up in it. I sit cross-legged and my feet are all tangled up in my yarn now. So my first color is Wild Honey, which is a gold. Also, I should say I am using my Merino DK base for this DK weight sweater. My next color is Stardust, which is a tonal pink. Next color is Venus, which is a kind of variegated speckled purple, pinkish kind of color. Last color that I'm using is my very favorite speckled color that I dye. It is Magical Creatures. And that's it. That is the Soldotna kit. And I really love how these colors play together. I think they turned out really well. So the Soldotna is a top-down cropped sweater. The pattern calls for short sleeves, but I am doing, yeah, they're like 3/4 length sleeves. So I made the sleeves longer than the pattern called for, and I was able to do that. I'm doing all over the place. I am doing the small size, so it's the second to the smallest size of the pattern. And for that size, you need 4 different colorways, 1 skein of each colorway. And even though I lengthened the sleeves to 3/4 length, I still I didn't need more than 1 skein of any of the colors. But I did run out of the color B, which is the pink, which is the background color for the body. And so what I did is right about here, I replaced the pink with the last color, which is Magical Creatures. So from here to here, it's Magical Creatures in the background instead of Stardust. And I think that worked out just fine. So I kind of went out on my own there. I also shortened the body by a 1/2 repeat. The pattern pretty much just gives a suggestion on how many repeats to do according to her pattern sample. But you can do it for however many repeats you want. So I did it for 1/2 repeat less than what she did in her sample pattern. And it is pretty dang short, but that is what I'm going for. I really want this to be super cropped. And I've tried it on. I think it looks really good. And I've got 1 more sleeve to go. I've already picked up for the second sleeve. I'm like maybe a 1/2 pattern repeat into the second sleeve. And so I just have 1 sleeve to go. And then this thing is done. I love it. This pattern is really fun to work on. The color work is really fun and it goes by really quick because it's DK weight yarn, so it's a little on the thicker end, and it just flies, and it's color work the whole entire time. Oh, I love it. I can't wait until it's done. I'm really excited about wearing this. I am knitting this on a size US 5. Yeah, US 5 on my Lickas. I'm using my one pair of 12-inch circulars for the sleeves, which I am really enjoying. I was doing the first sleeve on my 12-inch size 5 Licka needles, and it was getting a little bit annoying, the color work was, so I switched to doing magic loop because I thought, like, it's these stupid short needles. I'm gonna switch to magic loop because I like that better. And it wasn't, it was way worse. It was way worse. I think it's just colorwork sleeves are just a little bit annoying to me to do. And the 12-inch circulars really make it a lot less annoying. So I switched back, and it was really great. But man, yeah, this whole sweater is like super fun. And then the sleeves, which it's just so weird because the sleeves are so small compared to the body, and they're so much more annoying. I don't know why, but they are. So I just got to get through this last sleeve, and then I will be done. Done. But my Soldotna is my representative of my gold and lavender, golden lilac. I'm calling it my golden lilac moment that I'm having right now. Cannot wait to wear it. Okay, so that is that. That is my first work in progress. And I forgot I'm still tangled up in all this yarn. I only have one other work in progress because I've been working a lot on 3 sweaters these past 2 weeks. That is all I've been doing. So my other work in progress is living in my A Woodsy and Wild bag. And this is... Okay, got it. Okay, got it. This is my Ursa. I am knitting the Ursa by Jacquine Geslak, and I am knitting this in also Moonstone Dye Works yarns, the Merino DK base held doubled. So this is a pattern that calls for bulky yarn, and I decided to do DK weight held double. So this is the yarn. It is my tendril colorway, and as you can tell, it is pretty ramen-y, and that is because this yarn has previously been frogged. If you remember from quite a few episodes back probably, I originally knit this yarn to be a Virginia pullover by Jana Haitala from Lane Magazine, which called for DK weight yarn. I knit a size that didn't fit me. It was too small. I finished most of it, realized it was too small and it was not gonna work. I ripped it out. I started to knit the next size up, and then I was like, I don't feel like doing this anymore. So I found this pattern and it works perfectly. So I re-knit it into this bulky weight sweater. And here's what I have so far. It's another cropped sweater, you say? Yes, yes, it is another cropped sweater with long sleeves. Haha. Because I can't stop. I can't stop. And this one actually does call for long sleeves, so I did not alter anything in this pattern. This is exactly according to pattern, which is really exciting because I don't do that all that often. So this has been so fun to work on. Much of it is stockinette, and it has a really cool brioche detail. So there's brioche, there's one single line of brioche that runs up the front and up the back. And then the bottom has this brioche triangle, which I was honestly skeptical of at first because brioche, if you know the stitch, it creates a really thick material. It creates a really loose, thick, squishy, fluffy material. So I was envisioning me having a sweater that was stockinette on the body. So it laid flat, and then right at my stomach, it would be like poof. which didn't sound great to me, but I started realizing that that somehow is not what happens, because I was looking at everybody else's Ursas, and instead of it looking weird the way it looked in my head, I realized that it looked fantastic on like everybody. So I went with it, and I was skeptical even as I was doing it. I was like, maybe I should go down a needle size just for this part to like tighten it up a little bit. I also even considered like maybe just replacing the brioche with ribbing. That way it would bring it in the way I'm used to things kind of going that way. But that's because I'm trying to retrain my mind to think in crops. Because my style and my aesthetic has never made room for the cropped sweater before, for the positive ease of the cropped sweater. I'm so used to wearing really tight clothing, which I have always done up until fairly recently, when I've kind of stopped wearing tight clothing. So my mind just needs to be retrained. And yeah, I did the brioche exactly as the pattern calls for, and it looks so good. So far, I haven't blocked it, but I've tried it on, and I just love it so much. So there's also brioche at the raglan increases, and a detail that I think is really cool looking, and it's gonna look even cooler once it's blocked and like the ends are woven in and stuff, is the armpit. The armpits are cool. So the brioche detailing is up the side of the sweater as well, and it comes to a point where you've got the raglan increases on the front and the back, and then the brioche goes up the inside of the sleeve as well. So this looks super sloppy right now because of all the stuff I said before, but I think this is a really cool detail, how all the brioche kind of comes together at a point. And I really like that the brioche detailing goes up the sleeve as well. So it'll go up the whole inside of the sleeve. And then at the end of the sleeve, there's no ribbing or brioche or anything. It's just stockinette until the end, and then you bind off. And I did the sleeve really nice and long. It looks really skinny, like when you just look at it, but it fits good, it really does. And there is sleeve shaping, so you decrease as you go down, and I made the sleeves like come down all the way to here, which I'm really excited about. Now, superwash yarn grows as you block it, so I am anticipating the possibility of once I block it, my sleeve like being down to here. If that's the case, since there's no ribbing, it'll be really easy to fix because I'll just rip it out and rebind off. Perfect. So I am about halfway done with the second sleeve, and I'm knitting this on the called for needle size, I believe, I'm pretty sure. Maybe? I can't remember. That could be wrong. But I'm knitting it on a 10.5. Is that the needle size called for? I think I might have gone down a little bit. Possible. So I started out with 4 skeins of yarn. That is how much yarn I had from my previous project that was already caked up. And since I frogged it, I ended up having a whole bunch of these little tiny balls to work from. But I started out with my bigger cakes. So I've used all my bigger cakes. This is what I have left of my 2 biggest cakes. And I'm holding it double, so that's why there's 2 strands. And then all the yarn that I have left is here. So this, I'm sure, is less than 1 skein, and I'll probably break into this a little bit before I'm done with this second sleeve. But that's pretty good. That's for the, I'm doing the smallest size also, by the way. So for the smallest size, I've used 4 skeins, and I probably won't use the whole 4 skeins of DK weight yarn. So that's pretty awesome. I also, in a previous video, said that there is no neckline finishing, that it's just the raw edge. I totally was wrong. I just made that up. And that is not the case. Thank you so much to the commenter who told me that there is some finishing here. And I read ahead in the pattern and I read about the finishing, and it's a really cool technique that looks really easy, that looks like it's gonna be really easy. So I'm excited to see how that looks. But I just really love the way this looks so far. I'm excited for it to be done and to block it and see how it actually finishes up. So again, this is the Ursa by Jacquine Geslak, and this is Moonstone Dye Works Merino DK in the Tendril colorway. Okay, that's it. Is that it for my knitting? That's it for my knitting. I love it. I love it so much. I really, really do. So 3 sweaters, that's all I've been working on. I feel like that's kind of nuts. But I've been having so much fun with these 3 sweaters. And now I only have like a sleeve and a half left to do to finish 2 sweaters, which is great. It's really great. I'm really excited. Okay, so moving on to, I guess this will be favorites. It's not exactly sewing, but I got 2 sewing patterns. I saw on a recent episode of Wool and Vine, Kristen sewed a Zephyr dress from Deer and Doe, and I fell in love with hers, and I decided I wanted to make one too, so I bought the pattern. I purchased the actual paper pattern rather than the digital one because I really prefer working with paper patterns rather than having to print out my own pattern. So that's what I did. And Deer and Doe is a pattern company that I have ordered from before, and they're really great. It comes from France to America, to the United States where I am, and it got here within like 3 days. It was crazy. It was very cool. So this is the Roe Blue. This is not the Roe Blue pattern. This is the Zephyr pattern. So it's a jersey skater style dress with princess seams and a V-neck option, which I do plan on doing. The different options are pretty neat too. You can do a crew neck, but I definitely plan on doing the V-neck. You can also do a separate top and skirt. Does that fit with like my new like crop top obsession? Should I do that? I don't know. Probably not. I don't know. We'll see. But so I'm pretty excited about this. I have not broken into it yet, but hopefully it will happen someday because I don't sew that much anymore, but I really want to, so. My next pattern that I got was a gift from my friend Nina from the This Old Knit podcast, and this is a pattern that she sent me for me to sew for my daughter Lucy, who is gonna be 1 year old this month. So crazy. So she had this pattern. She got it though in a size too small for her daughter, so she offered to send it to me, and she did, and it was so nice. Thank you so much, Nina. I can't wait to make this for her. So it's See and Sew B5442, and it's a really cute, just like pull over dress with a little ruffle on the bottom. And then the other option is to do a top where the shoulders tie, and it also comes with a shorts pattern. So that's really cool. I feel like I am going to, at some point, make clothes for Lucy, and I feel like this is going to be a really good introduction to that because it's nothing too complicated. It's a really simple, I don't even think there's any like fasteners or closures or anything that I have to deal with. It's just like straight up, simple dress. It'll be great. So thank you so much, Nina. I'm excited about this. I think it's going to kind of really get me going on making clothes for her, which I really want to make happen. I really do. I don't do it that much, even with knitting, but I'm going to, and I want to, and I think that's going to be perfect. So thank you, Nina. She also included some other really cool goodies in my package. If you haven't checked out her podcast yet, you definitely should. She is the This Old Knit podcast, and it is awesome. Okay. Is that it? Do I have anything else? I don't have anything else for favorites. I did not prepare anything. So I am not going to talk about anything, even though I could continue talking about books and movies and music and YouTube channels that I'm obsessed with, because there are a lot of all of those things. I'm not going to right now though, because I don't know what I would talk about. I'd have to sit here for like 10 minutes and pick one, and I'm not going to. So sorry. But if you want to let me know, I will soon though. I do enjoy sharing those things. And if you want to hear more about that kind of stuff that I've been into, let me know. And I, of course, still, you guys told me about some great things last podcast that you are doing right now. But I'm still totally interested in books, movies, music, other YouTube channels that you are into right now. I would love it if you shared those with me and with us. So check those out in the comments or in the Ravelry podcast group over there too. And that would be great. So I will leave you all there. I'm gonna go enjoy my cropped sweater some more. I'm gonna prance around my house in it and go like this and pose in it and stuff. Okay, I'm weird. Anyway, I hope you are having a fantastic day. It is summer now, I forgot to mention that. Yay, the summer solstice happened. And I loved it. It's my favorite day of the year. It's the longest day of the year. I love solstices and equinoxes. One of my 4 favorite days of the year. Okay, happy summer. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're having a really great time. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I would appreciate that very, very much. And have fun and stay awesome, everybody. Bye.